Hey everyone, King Size Customs here with a truck and talk. I'm going to be quiet, put in our intro, and then I'll come back when we're on the street. Okay, so right there, what you're seeing is me trying to master lining up my truck with my mirrors, trying to line up the trailer with the truck just using the mirrors. So that's why everything's a little wonky, a little janky, I guess is what the kids are saying these days. But that's really all it is. So the topic of this video is... there we go, I'm pausing again. So the topic of this video is brought on by something that was said in my previous video. It was a comment from garages. Please leave comments, say what you want. Maybe they'll get put in a video like this. But before I get to the main topic of this video, and before I almost forget, those of you guys who are veterans of the channel who remember, who've been here for a while, episode 5 is going to be something a little special. I found a truck that I used to have, and if you guys have been with me for a long time, you remember this truck. And this truck and I go a long way back. It's gotten me 1,000 views. So the topic of this video is if I had money, and we're talking about if I had Bill Gates money, Elon Musk money, Tim Bezos money. Yeah, I went there. The reason I picked those 3 guys is I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of at least one of them these days. So I've been doing some soul searching, some digging, some real thinking on this. And if I had money, not a lot would change. You know, there are some things I do where it's, yeah, that's pretty respectable, and then there's some things that wouldn't be so respectable, and some things that are superficial. First things first, we'll do the things that are respectable. I've got some family who are working through some financial deals, trying to get through things that got kind of stuck and aren't doing so well financially. I have a friend who's going to have a big expense coming up for the rest of their life pretty much. I'd give them money if I hit the lottery today. I have a neighbor who I talk to all the time when it's nice outside. One of the things he said was if he won the lottery, he'd get a Shelby F-150. I'd buy that for him. The things that are not too respectable, they're not something terrible, but I've had some things in the past with people, and I'd be kind of a stand-up guy about it. I just donate to charities that I know go against how they feel. So that's one thing I'd do. Another thing this is a little weird, and take it for face value. Don't read into it too much. But if I had, those guys' kind of money, I'd like to go visit some old friends who were working hard and just give them a day off and be like, hey, you're not going to work today. I'll compensate you financially for it. We're going to go eat and we're going to go catch up. It'll be like a comedians in cars getting coffee type thing. And then some of the superficial, some of the not really greatest of things, and this is why I think maybe having large sums of money is not a good thing for me, at least. I'd like enough to live on and live comfortably, but I'd buy a Lamborghini Countach and race it down a New York backstreet a la Sense of a Woman style. Just take it out for a ride and let it out. I'd probably move to California and have a good size house in California. I'd probably buy a lot of die-cast that I'm looking at, a lot of expensive die-cast. One shot, I'd probably buy something like as many die-cast promotion semis as I wanted in a day, and buy all the expensive Tomica limited vintage that you can't get. With the space in my new home, I'd set up a pretty good sized display and maybe charge like a $5 admission just so I could help maintain the layout and display, and I'd like to invite people to come see it. That's what the whole admission is. I'd also support several small businesses, and they're technically small, but these are guys that I found through YouTube. Some of the channels that I've mentioned previously, like Lee Stewart, and let's stick with Lee Stewart because he's the most family friendly here. But yeah, he uses some language. I'd buy shirts from him. I Patreon quite a few channels. I pay monthly. I do quite a few things. I'd buy a lot of cars, like real cars. I'd buy several dream cars. But at the end of the day, a lot of that really isn't helping too many people. The buying cars and the moving somewhere that's nice and warm and tropical. And there's only so much you can do. There's only so much space on the world. I can only really drive one car at a time. Well, not really. I can't really drive now. So, and that's the thing. One of our biggest things was in college and this got asked of us 3 times, and I always thought it was kind of a hokey question. It was, if money was no object, what would you do? Well, I don't want to sound like, I have it the worst financially, but, there are times in my life where I really didn't have money. And there's going to be times in my life, I know, it's inevitable. There will be times where I don't have money. To me, I kind of always lived my life like money was no object. I didn't really want to let money get in the way of friendships or family, and, well, sometimes people don't always have the same idea as you. I think you realize that. I know who my audience is, mostly. I know who a lot of my subscribers are. And there goes a vintage Beetle. But, like I was saying, I know who my audience is. A lot of you guys are older, you know, a lot of you guys aren't college age. You've lived lives. Some of you guys probably are saying, what are you, silly? You know, money is the greatest thing. Well, that's why I say I want enough to live on, but I don't want to be super uber rich. You know, greed is really the key to all evil. It's greedy people that tend to be the most narcissistic. Just casual observation. I have no scientific basis, but, you know, greed leads to a lot of bad things happening. I mean, if you look at most bad things that have gone on, and I'm just saying this in general, it's due to greed. You know, greed can breed false pride, narcissism. You know, just because you have money doesn't mean you're the greatest person on the world and on the face of the world. Just because you don't have money doesn't mean you're not the greatest person in the world. Honestly, in my experience, it's the people who have the less give the most. You know, a lot of the Hot Wheels people that you see on this channel, or a lot of the people that do the RAOKs with me, are average working folks. Sometimes they're out of a job due to health issues, but yet they still find a way to send me a little something just out of the kindness of their heart, not really expecting something back. And I always try to do something for them. You know, I always want to send something back. And like I said, I've had some hard months happen, and I've had some greater months, but when I can, I send. But going back to the superficial, you know, the buying superficial things, a house is a nice place to live, but just because you got a mansion with 28 bedrooms doesn't mean you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, who are you going to have live with you if you've got 28 bedrooms or 13 bedrooms or, you know, 5? You know, I have relatives who have, I think this person has 5 children, and they live in I think it's like a 3 or 4 bedroom house. And yeah, it's full. For me, it just seems kind of silly. I know I'm a car guy, and yeah, I'd love to have a Lamborghini Countach, a Ferrari Testarossa, a bunch of Japanese cars that you guys may or may not have heard of, like a Suzuki Cappuccino, or Mitsubishi Land Evo 3, Mitsubishi Land Evo 4, Kenworth K100. But really, what good would all that? It brings you a momentary happiness. When I started car collecting, really, I was trying to keep up with everybody else and buy what everybody else had, and also too, when I was doing videos religiously, I was trying to get cars that nobody had. I was trying to be the first person. Now that I realize I was going about it the wrong way, I was trying to turn YouTube into a business instead of doing what I should have set out as, was make YouTube just a fun escape for me, which it's become. I'm also starting to become more philosophical as the years roll on. But yeah, the whole having X amount of dollars, you know, for me, having over, and I guess this could be a conservative estimate, but having over $1 million, I don't really think that's in the cards for me. I don't really think I'd be happy either. You know? Now, it would be nice because, yeah, I've expressed on a couple of different videos, I do have some health issues. It'd be nice to have really, really good insurance, but, you know, I can't complain about the insurance I have now. I get to see all the same doctors I've had. I've seen about 2 specialists, I want to say. A neurologist and a ophthalmologist and a eye surgeon. So, you know, my vision has been, I don't want to say restored, but has been preserved, as bad as my vision is. I know people who are my age who didn't have the doctor I had and lost their sight. And it was all due to their parents not having good insurance. So, I mean, my mom also worked for a Fortune 500 company, and back when she did, my mom worked for DuPont, back when DuPont in Delaware was DuPont, and she got the best insurance she could get. She was paying through the nose for it, but when you have a kid, you do what you can. But, yeah. You know, the other thing is, with all the money in the world that is spent on things that are frivolous, and of course, I do argue with myself sometimes about buying certain cars, because to me, a lot of the time they're just cars. They come, they go, you can find them. I was honking at the guy in the right lane so he wouldn't come and drive in front of me. I've had a couple of close calls, no real incidents because people have, cut me off, but hey. The other thing too is you start losing your value for money when you have more money than you need, I feel. I don't know what that's like because a lot of times I've never had more money than I needed. I've had enough. So. And I'd like to say that money wouldn't change me for the good or bad, but I really can't say that it wouldn't change me. I know I'd probably do more things, but some of those things, again, donating charities in people's names because they don't really stand for what the charity believes in. And these are people who've not really been quite nice to me. But you move on. Time heals all wounds, they say. I'd also like to catch up again with the people that I'd like to catch up with. I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, it's a bit of a two-way that's a bit of a two-way street there. Why haven't these people reached out to you? And have you reached out to these people? And no. And the reason why I haven't reached out to these people is I want to take somebody away from, I don't want to take food out of a person's mouth just so I can catch up with them and be like, hey, how are you? Or what have you been up to? I've seen your life scattered on social media, but tell me the truth. Do you really like what you do? Or is it just something that pays the bills? And, when I was a student in college, there was a lot of things where it was like, yeah, this is something I gotta learn to love. This is the choice I made. I gotta live with it. I mean, a lot of your service jobs don't pay a whole heck of a lot. It's an honest living. It's not dishonest living, it's just an honest living, but the insurance benefits, oh man, they're beautiful. And then, I don't really think a lot of these people that I want to see really want to reach out and see me. I think they're happy just seeing what I post on Facebook, Instagram. By the way, my Facebook's private. My Instagram is the same as this. It's King Size Customs. So, if you want to look for it, go ahead and find me on Instagram. I do a lot of Hot Wheels related stuff and very little semi-truck related stuff on Instagram. Closest thing is my collection of semis, which as soon as I get my new one, I have to make a video on that because somebody requested it, which is awesome. So, well, that's really that, guys. I hope I wasn't too doom and gloom for you, but here comes the song, and I'm out.